will affect certainly ocean food production, and that's about as smart as I can be on that topic. When we look at food production, I think we do need to look at all of these different pathways of change, right? So there's warming. We know that agriculture is affected by temperature. Some crops grow a little better, some crops grow worse, but you could plant different crops that are better adjusted to the temperature to certain places if your socioeconomic system is sufficiently nimble to do so. In the Northwest is the area I'm most familiar with. So I'll tell what I know about here, and then we can maybe extrapolate to California. So here, we think that the agriculture sector is one of the least vulnerable to a changing climate in the Northwest. And that is because they are adapted to many different, a big range of variability already. So they have a variable climate they need to deal with, variable weather on a yearly basis, and they also have variable economic and other conditions that they're always adjusting to. So on the aggregate, it looks like the Northwest ag sector is fairly robust. When you look more carefully in the region, you see areas where there's more concern. The Yakima Valley, for instance, and the availability of irrigation water is the biggest negative impact pathway because without the snow, we don't have enough water to deliver given the current size of dams. And so that's likely to be the biggest challenge and will produce more local impacts. Then in California, we know water supply is likely to be an increasing problem and continued problem, not only because of climate change reducing snowpack in the Sierras and in Colorado, but also because those systems weren't designed with the actual amount of climate variability in mind that they're likely to experience in the absence of a changing climate.
Yeah, I've been spending some time looking at the climate model simulations for Western United States, and clearly Central California, the Central Valley, is a real problem. I mean, that's a relatively robust finding from the climate models that California, especially Central, the Southern, is going to dry out. So, I mean, and the snowpack will be less in this area. So that is a really serious implication. On the other hand, I spoke to some people at a winery in Eastern Washington. They think it's going to be great. We're going to be doing pretty well here. Our wine industry is going to become dominant. It'll get too warm in Napa for good grapes, so we may do okay that way. So, I mean, California is a very serious issue, and also there's the predictions from these models for drying in the Midwest as well. So that's another issue.
Andy, you have anything more there?
Well, I think just to reemphasize the point that I try and make whenever we do have this discussion is that, there's in the Northwest and our wonderful communities here, people try and eat local, and that's all well and good. But for the most part, we don't. For the most part, we eat California, and we eat the Midwest, and so again, if we are buffered in the Pacific Northwest by the worst parts about climate change, California won't be, and Iowa won't be, and we're going to be looking at increases both in commodity grains and in direct animal protein costs, as well as all the agriculture that comes out of California. So, don't take away from this that these scientists came up and said that we're in a good spot here in the Pacific Northwest because of climate change. Because we are bigger than the Pacific Northwest. Okay, our livelihood is much bigger than just this area. So, don't be lulled into this sense of security from that.
Let's take two more questions, because I know we're getting close to the end here. And what I would ask you to do is maybe direct it to a panelman. I think we expedite your patient waiting.
Hi, Fritz Feiten with Ameresco. I'm wondering if anyone is looking at the issue of in-migration as a result of climate change. I mean, it strikes me listening to you that this is going to be a real attractive place to live in another 20 years, and we should be doing some planning for that.
Except for the increasing clouds.
Well, only in the late spring or summer.
I'm reminded of the old Oregon bumper stickers, which was keep Oregon green, put a Californian on the bus. Which used to see. This issue globally of climate refugees is a huge issue, but I think these are, when I stay up at night worrying about things, when I think about climate, I think about multiple stressors. And I think about, there's never the people on the globe that are going to be the most impacted by the direct effects of climate change in terms of things like rising sea levels that are going to cause their livelihoods to be disrupted. It's already those of the 2 billion people in the world that live on less than $2 a day. They have a huge number of other multiple stressors that are going on in their lives. And so climate's going to be one of them, but it's not going to be the only thing that affects the poorest people in the world.
Okay, we're just doing response from one panel member there. Let me ask each of you three, because we do need to get into the concluding remarks here. Would each of you be comfortable sticking around another 10, 15 minutes to answer questions just personally? Okay. One last question I'm going to ask each of you to hold it to about 15 seconds or so. We hear a lot of discussion today over the need for improved science, technology, math education. And it's definitely true that we need more well-educated scientists and engineers for the future. But it strikes me it's equally important to have a well-educated citizenry, whether it's in the field of business, education, government. Each of you, if you'd offer maybe just a few seconds of what you'd like to see in terms of changes in our education system toward that end. And Cliff, I know you have opinions. Yeah. 15 seconds.
Oh, is it first?
Oh, okay, Amy gets it.
I think, okay, so go, 15 seconds. I think there's a lot that can be done to improve the science, technology, and math education writ large. And I think that the best things that I've seen as the mother of a fourth grader are teachers who work really hard to integrate the curriculum with science and technology or science and math integrated right in with writing and art and field trips and experiential learning. So this is a tiny little, not a huge sweeping policy recommendation, but that's where I've seen all the kids in the class, no matter what their predilection, get really engaged and bring the information home to their families.
Well, I have to say better math education, because that's sort of my topics. But putting that aside for a second, I think the most important thing is scientists like us have to talk directly. We can't depend on media anymore, and public interest groups and all kinds of intermediaries. The only way to get the story, the honest story through, is we gotta have to talk straight. And that is, blogs or social media or whatever, because if we don't talk directly, there's gonna be problematic information getting into the public.
Andy.
Yeah, you're here to both. I mean, as I'm the father of 3 small young boys, and every kid I've seen is a scientist. Every little kid out there wants to be convinced by evidence when they see something, and we can figure out how we have to work on making that the object of how we educate kids, and we'll bring them up right.
I would say I would apologize that we couldn't have answered more questions, but hopefully we covered some of the questions that you had. Got an opportunity to ask them some after the meeting, and perhaps it's a suggestion that you come back for round 2 at some point. But my sense of optimism grows greatly when I see groups that are actively seeking more information, and I really thank you for taking time to do this. At this point, I was supposed to turn it over at 12:55, 12:57. In broadcasting, that would be a big problem. Hopefully, it's not here. Podium back over to Tom Rankin. Tom.
Well, you cut me off 2 minutes. I'm turning you off tonight. So a couple things to say. Obviously, thank you very much to the panel. Thank you very much to Dr. Renner here for joining us for this. I've learned a lot. I think it's really extraordinary. I've been struck lately in some of my discussions with people. You all probably know more than 98% of Americans is having to sit through this, so it's really important that we do this. I want to recognize a couple of our board members who are here. Dan Malarkey, you met earlier from One Energy Systems. Kurt Kirkaby, Kurt, raise your hand, from Vista. Maggie Brown for APCO.
She was here.
She's gone, never mind. Craig Cusa, and Steve Gerritsen, our chairman. So thank you very much for being here, and for all the rest of you. I want to encourage you to fill out these forms. We want to know why you're here and how you found out about this. And our next session will be on Tuesday, the 27th of May, because of holidays and schedules and so forth. It's going to cover the regulatory framework. How's the federal government, how's the state government impacting on this, and what will they be doing in the future? We're going to talk about the carbon tax on June 9th, a Monday, and on June 30th, another Monday, we're going to talk about cap and trade. I'm told that if you sign up for all of these right now, you get $20 off for the entire series. So rush to the front door and do that. So once again, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much to the panel. Have a great day.
Yes,